What's up, knuckleheads? Nat McDonough here with Kid and Company, and in this episode, one of two, because there's a lot of ground to cover here and I didn't want to try to cram it into one episode. I'm going to be talking about my 1/16 scale radio controlled Nashorn tank destroyer. Now, what sets this thing apart? This gun. This isn't throwing 6mm plastic BBs downrange or those infrared spitballs. This thing here is throwing 22 caliber lead pellets downrange, powered by a CO2 cartridge. So if that sounds interesting to you, you might want to stick around and subscribe. So, with all my custom builds, as I've said before, the first two things I look for, chassis and scale. In the case of this vehicle, the chassis was a no-brainer. It's got to be a Panzer IV chassis. And that's what this is. Initially, I went online, I was thinking I could find a Tamiya full-op 1/16 scale Panzer IV. Couldn't find one. There was a lot of those kits that just had the single gearbox and none of the electronic goodies. And I wasn't going to buy that and then try to get another gearbox and integrate it. So what I found was a chassis made by a company called Toro, which many of you, if you play with these tanks, you know what Toro is. And the cool thing about the chassis is it's all metal. The only thing that's not metal is around the bottom tub, which is metal, there's a plastic cover. But all the road wheels, the sprocket, the idler, it's all metal. And some cool details. You got the metal wheels, and that's actually plastic, which is a cool little detail. The suspension arms, all metal. The suspension inside, it's all metal inside. And I tell you, it really adds a lot to the weight of this thing. You can tell this is a big chunk of heavy metal. And as far as the tracks go, these are aftermarket metal tracks. I got the winter kit, which is, you see they're kind of extended out. I thought that would be a cool look, especially given the whole Hoth livery I've got going on here. So solid metal, including the gearboxes. They're stamped metal, and the gears in the gearboxes are also steel. So very robust. I have run it around a little bit. It's heavy, and I couldn't be more pleased with it, to be honest with you. So the upper body, initially I thought, let me scratch build a 1/16 scale Nashorn body, and the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what, I'm never going to get it quite the way I want it. So I went online, like everybody does, and of course there wasn't a body in 1/16 scale made. So what I did find was a 1/15 scale Bandai kit. Like a remote control kit. And that kit was actually a Hummel, which is the artillery version of this vehicle, mobile artillery. So that was the perfect solution for this build. So basically I just, I didn't use the artillery gun, obviously. This is emulating the 88mm anti-tank gun that the Germans put in it. So the gun. which really is what sets this thing apart. I needed something that would fit in here, something that I could actually load without taking the thing apart, something that I could actually load a CO2 cartridge in with ease. And what this is, it's a Crosman 2240, 22 caliber pellet pistol. I purchased an extended barrel, the longest one I could find, to give it that Nashorn look. And I'm pretty sure when I say Nashorn look, you know what I'm talking about. It's a vehicle with it, and the barrel just seems to go out from it forever. I stripped it down. I got it to fit in here, as you can see. Had to take the grips off, do a little bit other surgery on it. What you see here, that's the gearbox for the elevation, and I'll show you how that works later. Over here is the servo that actuates the trigger. And then on top, this is that's a laser sight. I'll show you how that works also. But the other thing, obviously, is I needed a platform to mount this gun to. And I created that with pieces of aluminum, essentially. I mitered them, I milled them, I cut them, I put them in there, I mounted the servo, mounted the gearbox to them. And then the gray that you see is it's just metal gray primer. Obviously to protect everything and to blend it in with what else is going on with this vehicle. Back here, the doors, they do open, which is kind of a cool touch, I think. And that's how I got the gun in this thing. Okay. There's the gearbox, which controls elevation. And then over here is the servo that pulls the trigger. Just like that. Pretty straightforward stuff. So movement is pretty straightforward also. I've got everything on one stick instead of two. Front and back, brake right, brake left. And that's basically it. Loading the CO2 cartridge, easy peasy. We just put it in there. This is a threaded nut. Anybody that's had, you know, a pellet gun or any kind of, whether it's a BB gun, pellet gun, even airsoft, you put the cartridge in there and you screw down the nut, and then it eventually perforates that cartridge and you got CO2 flowing through the system. Apparently there's a little bit of jealousy between the Centurion crew shooting those infrared spitballs and the Nashorn team firing out that 22 caliber CO2 powered cannon. Simple, actually. The commander selects the round, in this case a 22 caliber lead pellet round, walks it around to the loader, gives it to the loader. The loader then carries it to the gun, where the gunner opens the breech, as you can see here. The loader inserts the round, gunner closes the breech, and the commander gives the command to fire. Then everyone returns to their station. Loading the canister is pretty straightforward. The commander calls for a new one when the gun's empty. The loader inserts it, And that's about it. TK420 here. Definitely stay tuned for the next episode because we're going to be kicking mucho ass.